Now we are going to discuss about the functional columns of cranial nerves and the position of nuclei of cranial nerves in brainstem, where they are located and how the cranial nerves are formed. So first we'll look at the development. Suppose this is the neural tube. This is the neural tube. This anterior portion of neural tube is the posterior portion of neural tube. It is the anterior portion. This is the posterior portion of neural tube. So the anterior portion of neural tube is called basal plate and the posterior portion is called alar plate. Okay, so the anterior portion, the basal plate, it carries all the motor nucleus, and the posterior portion, that is the alar plate, it carries all the sensory nucleus. You can see it in generally also. Suppose this is the spinal cord. Spinal cord's posterior horn, it carries all the sensory neurons, and the anterior horn, it carries all the motor neurons. So the anterior horn of spinal cord, it carries motor neurons, and the posterior horn, it carries sensory neurons. So like this, in the neural tube, the posterior portion of neural tube, it is alar plate, it carries all the sensory nucleus, and the anterior portion, which is the basal plate, carries all the motor nucleus. So when this neural tube divides, so it divides like this, in such a way that the posterior portion comes to the lateral, and the anterior portion is in medial side. The posterior portion comes to the lateral side. This is the posterior thing. This comes to the lateral side, and the anterior side remains in the medial. Okay, so here after development, this is how it happens. So suppose we will take about the brainstem. Suppose this is the brainstem. In the brainstem, in the medial side, in this side, the nucleus are, which nucleus are located? The motor nucleus are located. So in the medial portion, the motor nucleus will be located, because like this, and the lateral portion, the sensory nucleus will be located. So this is a very common thing. We know that from the development. Okay, so in the lateral portion, the sensory part, sensory nucleus will be located, and in the medial portion, the motor nucleus will be located. So how it will be located? Now we'll talk about that. So suppose this is the brainstem. Suppose this is the brainstem. Okay, so brainstem consists of three parts. One is midbrain, one is pons, and another medulla. By looking into a diagram, you can understand that this portion is the midbrain, this portion is the pons, and this portion is the medulla. And now we'll talk about the various. So I am divided into two parts. So now we'll talk about the first. I told you that the motor nucleus will be located in the medial side, and the sensory nucleus will be located on the lateral side. So first we'll talk about the medial to lateral. We'll go in this way. Okay, so first, what nucleus will be here? The functional column nucleus. Which nucleus? General somatic efferent. This nucleus will be located in the medial most portion. So what are the general somatic efferent? Here the name is general somatic efferent. Efferent, you understand? Somatic. What is somatic? Somatic means somites origin. Somites in the development mesoderm, in the paraxial mesoderm, they form somites. So I am talking about these somites. So this general somatic efferent, these nerves, the nerves will arise from this. It will supply the structures which are derived from somites. So in our body, in our face, which are the structures derived from the somites? So our tongue, it will derive from occipital somites. Okay, tongue is derived from occipital somites, and the extraocular muscles, they are derived from preoccipital somites. Okay, so it will be supplied by the general somatic efferent component. So extraocular muscles we know supplied by canal nerve 3, 4, 6, and the tongue supplied by canal nerve 12, hypoglossal nerve. So this nucleus, in this column, this nerve nucleus will be located. Okay. So first I am going to draw about the, suppose this is in the midbrain upper position. Suppose this is the third nerve nucleus. Nerve nucleus, and after that this is suppose the fourth nerve nucleus. Third nerve, fourth nerve. Now I will talk about the sixth nerve nucleus, supplied by the lateral rectus muscle. The lower portion of pons, this is situated. Third nerve nucleus is situated at the level of superior colliculus, and it is situated at the level of inferior colliculus. It is the lower pons level. Pons can be also divided into lower pons, and this is the upper pons level, and this is the medulla. So this is all about that, and now we'll talk about the cranial nerve 12 nucleus, situated in the medulla. Nerve nucleus is situated like this here. So we'll talk about general somatic efferent. Now we'll talk about what next to it. Next to it some other nucleus will be located na. So what are the nucleus situated next to it? So after general somatic efferent, now we have what? Now we have the special visceral efferent. Okay, so what is special visceral efferent? You might be wondering. So special visceral efferent means special. Suppose the name. Special means these are pharyngeal arch derivatives. So special means pharyngeal arch derivatives. So these nerves, the nucleus is found by these nerves will supply the structure which are derived from pharyngeal arches. So we have what pharyngeal arches? We have initially 5 pharyngeal arches, 6 pharyngeal arches. The fifth one disappears. Now we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So the structures derived from this muscle, these pharyngeal arches, all the muscles derived from these pharyngeal arches will be supplied by this component, special visceral efferent. So I am using a different color for this. Suppose this is I am using the red color. Okay. So now talk about the first pharyngeal arch, which muscles of mastication. Second pharyngeal arch, muscles of facial expression. Third pharyngeal arch is of only one muscle, stylopharyngeus, and fourth and sixth. So the fourth pharyngeal arch gives rise to all the muscles of pharynx except stylopharyngeus plus cricothyroid, and the sixth pharyngeal arch, it will give rise to all the muscles of larynx. It will give rise to all the muscles of larynx except cricothyroid. Okay, except cricothyroid. So now we'll discuss the how this column is related to this one. So first we'll talk about the muscles of mastication supplied by mandibular nerve, mandibular branch of fifth cranial nerve, facial expression, seventh cranial nerve, facial nerve, and stylopharyngeus supplied by ninth cranial nerve, and this is also 9 and 10. So and some part of 11 also. Okay. So now I will talk about the motor supply of all these muscles derived from pharyngeal arches will be by these nerves. So now I will talk about where the fifth nerve, motor nucleus of fifth nerve is located. It is located here. Okay. Now I will talk about the seventh nerve. Okay. Now I will talk about the ninth cranial nerve. 10th cranial nerve here. So listen, here we have a nucleus that contains fibers of that gives rise to both 9 and 10 and 11 cranial part of 11 nerve. That is what? That is nucleus ambiguous. Cranial part of 11 nerve. So this is our what column? Special visceral efferent column. And this is the general somatic efferent column. Now we are using another color to signify another functional column. So now I am talking about the after general somatic afferent, special visceral afferent. Now I am talking about general visceral efferent. After general somatic efferent and special visceral efferent, now I am talking about general visceral efferent. So what is general visceral efferent? So general visceral efferent, it will supply all the parasympathetic related muscles and glands, of course, related to parasympathetic. So after the parasympathetic secretomotor nucleus related to, we have various glands in head and neck that were parasympathetic origin, that are supplied by the postganglionic parasympathetic fibers. So their nucleus is located somewhere here nearby. So first we will talk about the cranial nerve 3. Cranial nerve 3 has a parasympathetic component, that is the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. We have the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Now after that we have the lacrimator nucleus. Now we have the superior nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus. Now we have the inferior salivatory nucleus. Inferior salivatory nucleus. Now we have the, I'm joining them. Now we have here the, what is this? This is the dorsal nucleus of vagus. So this is the dorsal nucleus of vagus. So now we'll talk about what other thing. These are three. We have 3 efferent and 4 afferents. Okay, so we have other 4 afferents. Now how to write all the other 4 afferent? Like this, follow this rule. So we have general visceral efferent. So write simply here, general visceral afferent. We have special visceral efferent. Right here, special visceral afferent. Now you have general somatic afferent. Write like this, general somatic afferent. Now one is left, special somatic afferent. Okay, so this is all the afferents: general visceral afferent, special visceral afferent, general somatic afferent, special somatic afferent. Now we will discuss the afferents in another page. Now we will talk about the sensory nucleus. So I have told you the trick. So suppose this is all the motor things there. Now we have sensory that are 4 in number. Write this in this, general visceral afferent. Okay, and now we have the special visceral afferent. Now we have the general somatic afferent, and now we have the special somatic afferent. Okay, this is the trick. Now I am drawing here. So before drawing that, I am revising again the motor thing. Okay, suppose what is this? This is the cranial nerve 3 nucleus. This is the cranial nerve 4 nucleus. This is the cranial nerve 6 nucleus, and this is the cranial nerve 12 nucleus. Now what is this? This is the motor nucleus of trigeminal, motor nucleus of facial, nucleus ambiguous, reading or vestibal nucleus, lacrimator nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus, inferior salivatory nucleus, dorsal nucleus of vagus. Now we will talk about the sensory thing. So here is a catch. Before that we are drawing like this, but in this stage these two, what are these two? Special visceral afferent and general visceral afferent. These two form a single structure that is called nucleus tractus solitarius. So what is nucleus tractus solitarius? Nucleus tractus solitarius consists of two parts. One is special visceral afferent, another is general visceral afferent. Special visceral afferent, general visceral afferent. Before we have studied the function of nucleus tractus solitarius. Here which fibers rely here? So this is which part? So this is the general visceral afferent part, and suppose this is the, so this part is the special visceral afferent part. So special visceral afferent, from special what we are understanding, it is the pharyngeal arch derivative. So we know that tongue, it is derived from pharyngeal arches, so it will carry sensation, taste sensation. From tongue. So it has which nerve components here? So it have 7, 9 and 10th nerve component. As the name suggests, 7, 9th and 10th nerve component here. Okay, so this have all this. So 7th nerve carries taste sensation from the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. 9th nerve carries taste sensation from posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and the 10th nerve, it carries a taste sensation from the posterior most part of the tongue. Now what is GVA, general visceral afferent? It contains two nerves, cranial nerve 9 and 10. We know about the it goes to the viscera, and before we have studied the regulation of blood pressure and chemoreceptors. The chemoreceptors and blood pressures, the aortic arch and carotid sinus or carotid body, they are carried by 9th nerve and they are carried by 10th nerve. So these are these things, general visceral afferent. Okay, now it's helping regulation of what cardiac output or cardiovascular system, or cardiac output regulation and chemoreceptor in case of respiration. So this is about nucleus tractus solitarius, mainly taste pathway. Okay, so after these two have finished, now we have another thing, that is the general somatic afferent. General somatic afferent. So what is general somatic afferent? General somatic afferent, we have nucleus of trigeminal nerve here. Okay, so nucleus of trigeminal nerve. Now I am using different color to signify it. So as of talking about general somatic afferent. So general somatic afferent has a nucleus that is the trigeminal nerve nucleus. So here we have the nucleus of trigeminal nerve. Here we have three nucleus in one line. One is mesencephalic nucleus, one is chief sensory nucleus, and another is spinal nucleus. Okay, so mesencephalic related to midbrain, so it located somewhere here. This is the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal. Now we'll get the chief sensory nucleus of trigeminal. So here the chief sensory nucleus of trigeminal is located. It is located here. So here the chief sensory nucleus of trigeminal is located. And to the spinal cord level C2 from medulla, it is the spinal nucleus of trigeminal. So this is a line. So this is what component. So this component is general somatic afferent. Okay, general somatic afferent component. This is the spinal nucleus of trigeminal, chief sensory nucleus, and it is the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal. So the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal, it carries the proprioceptive fibers from muscles of mastication face, and the superior sensory nucleus or the chief sensory nucleus of trigeminal, it carries the touch and pressure from skin and mucous membrane of facial region. So mesencephalic nucleus, this carries the proprioception fibers from face and adjacent regions. Chief sensory regions carries touch and pain sensation, touch and pressure sensation, and touch and pressure sensation. And the spinal nucleus of trigeminal, this carries pain and temperature from face. So we have to write here that the mesencephalic is proprioceptive, chief sensory is touch and pressure, and the spinal nucleus is pain and temperature. So these are these things. Okay. So after that we have the more specialized thing. It is also connected to cranial nerve 7, cranial nerve 9, all these things. This is also connected to that one. So now we have the last remaining, that is the special somatic afferent. So what is the special somatic afferent? Now in the special somatic afferent we have two nuclei. One is vestibular nuclei and another is cochlear nuclei. So vestibular nuclei and cochlear nuclei. So we have 4 vestibular nuclei. They are like this. So this is the superior, this is the inferior, this is the medial, this is the lateral, medial, superior, lateral, inferior. This is the 4 vestibular nuclei. Four in number, and on each side. So we have now the cochlear nuclei. So we have 2 cochlear nucleus here, and one of them is superior dorsal cochlear nucleus, another is ventral cochlear nucleus. Okay, so we have the dorsal cochlear nucleus and the ventral cochlear nucleus. So this right here, it is the dorsal cochlear nucleus, and this one here is the ventral cochlear nucleus. So here this 4 cochlear nucleus, they decoset. The cochlear nucleus decoset and they form the structure that is the trapezoid body. Okay, so this is the trapezoid body. This cochlear nucleus, 4 cochlear nucleus, they decoset at the level of pons. This will be like this. At the level of pons, they decoset to form the trapezoid body. So it is visible more in the lower pons, but in upper pons, some part of this also is visible. So this is the trapezoid body. Okay. So this is all about that, and now I am talking where the this is more interesting part, where the which canal nerve comes. So canal nerve 3 comes from, it has a component from the Ringerostpal nucleus, motor nucleus, and it has a component of general somatic afferent also. So cranial nerve has these 3 component. Now cranial nerve 4 like this, it has these 2 components. Now I will talk about the cranial nerve 5. So cranial nerve 5 has total 4 nucleus. One is the motor nucleus of cranial nerve 5, trigeminal nerve, motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and second is the motor nucleus, second is the mesencephalic nucleus. Second is the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. The motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve, mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. Now we have the chief sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. First we have the motor nucleus, then we have the mesencephalic nucleus. Now we have the chief sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and now we have the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So this is the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So these all, see, this is thicker also. So this is cranial nerve 5. Now I will talk about cranial nerve 6. So cranial nerve 6, it is the abducent nerve. It has nucleus here. This is the nucleus of abducent nerve, supplies lateral rectus, and here it supplies to lateral rectus. My mistake, not here, lateral rectus, cranial nerve 6 nucleus, and I also have component of general somatic apparent. And now I will talk about cranial nerve 7. We have the first is the motor nucleus of 7th nerve. This is the motor nucleus of 7th nerve, and after that we have the nucleus tractus solitarius. I said before that cranial nerve 7 enter to third of the tongue, so it also is a part of nucleus tractus solitarius. And now we have a nucleus for cranial nerve 7, that is the superior salivatory nucleus. This is the superior salivatory nucleus. This is also a component of 7th cranial nerve, because the superior salivatory nucleus, it goes and relays on the, so I am talking about the superior salivatory nucleus. So this is the superior salivatory nucleus, and the superior salivatory nucleus, it will go to the via the facial nerve, and it will go to the submandibular ganglion. At superior salivatory nucleus, it go to the submandibular ganglion, and through submandibular ganglion it will go to sublingual salivary gland and submandibular salivary gland, parasympathetic part. Okay, so this is super. And lacrimator nucleus, it also is a component of 7th cranial nerve. We have completed now. And the general somatic apparent also, this is also a part of 7th cranial nerve. And I'm talking about the lacrimator nucleus. Here will go, and it will go to the pterygopalatine ganglion, and from there we will go to the three glands. We have nasal, lacrimal, palatine. So it will go to 3 glands. So cranial nerve 7 supplied 5 glands. One is nasal, one is lacrimal, one is palatine, one is sublingual, one is submandibular salivary gland. So these 5 glands are supplied by the facial nerve, parasympathetic supply. So now after facial nerve, now we will talk about the 8th nerve. What is the 8th nerve? It is the vestibulocochlear nerve. It will carry the vestibular and cochlear nucleus. It is cranial nerve 8. It will carry the vestibular and cochlear nucleus, special somatic afferent. And after that we have the cranial nerve 9. So cranial nerve 9, it is the glossopharyngeal nerve. So what are the nucleus of cranial nerve 9? So cranial nerve 9, first we have the this is nucleus ambiguous. This is a part of cranial nerve 9, nucleus ambiguous. And now we have another nucleus, that is the inferior salivatory nucleus. This is left here, inferior salivatory nucleus. Inferior salivatory nucleus, it is a part of ninth cranial nerve. So from inferior salivatory nucleus, it will supply to the OT ganglion, and from OT ganglion it will supply the parotid gland. Okay, so like this it will supply the lesser petrosal nerve will come and supply the OT ganglion, and from OT ganglion auriculotemporal nerve will come, it will supply the parotid gland. So this is the inferior salivatory nucleus, nucleus ambiguous, and we have another thing here, it is the nucleus tractus solitarius. Nucleus tractus solitarius, inferior salivatory nucleus, and nucleus ambiguous. All these will from the cranial nerve 9, glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay, now we will talk about after cranial nerve 10. Cranial nerve 10 is the vagus nerve and the cranial part of 11 nerve. They are studied together. Okay, cranial nerve 10 and cranial part of 11, they are studied together because they have 3 nucleus. Both of them have 3 nucleus. So first is the nucleus ambiguous, and second is the dorsal nucleus of vagus. So this is the dorsal nucleus of vagus, nucleus ambiguous, and now we have the nucleus ambiguous. So sorry, this is the nucleus ambiguous. I am drawing like this. This is the 12th nerve nucleus. So this is the nucleus ambiguous in cranial nerve 9 from here, and cranial nerve 10 from here, and dorsal nucleus of vagus from here, and nucleus tractus solitarius. They will from cranial nerve 10. So now we'll talk about the spinal part of cranial nerve 11, spinal accessory nerve. It will have the special visceral efferent fiber, and it will supply to muscles sternocleidomastoid and trapezius. So after that we'll talk about the cranial nerve 12, that is the hypoglossal nerve. This is the motor nucleus of hypoglossal nerve and also the general somatic apparent part. This is the cranial nerve 12. So this is all about the cranial nerves. I know this is very, I can say, dirty, but it is very clear to understand all of these concepts. So here I am going to discuss few more concepts that are related to the optic nerve. So first, this is our 2 eyeballs. In the retina we have, I am using different colors. So suppose this is the pathway. So we have 2 type of fibers in retina. The one is our these are nasal fibers, and here we have the temporal fibers. So both nasal and temporal fibers, they are the part of what? Optic nerve. So we know here crossing of you will find the optic chiasm. This is the optic nerve, suppose. So here we will find the optic chiasm. In the optic chiasm, the nasal fibers will cross, but the temporal fibers will not cross. The temporal fibers will not cross. So this is here is called optic tract, and here the midbrain is located. So after coming from optic tract, it will relate the lateral geniculate body, and this is the superior colliculus, and we have the pretectal nucleus. After lateral genicular body, and lateral genicular body is connected medially to the superior colliculus, and some fiber also reach the pretectal nucleus. When they reach the opposite side also. Okay, so lateral genicular body also the same. Some fibers reach here and some fibers reach the opposite side, and the remaining fiber they will form the lateral genicular body. They will form the optic radiations. Here is the brain in the occipital area. This is Brodmann area 17, 18, 19 is the sensory visual area, and this will analyze the picture here. So these three are related to the very important part in the brain, and that is the calcaline sulcus. Okay, so after that in the midbrain, here it is the pretectal nucleus. Two pretectal nucleus like this. Here is a pretectal nucleus, here is a pretectal nucleus. They will join to form the posterior commissure, and here two nucleus, the habenular nucleus. Two habenular nucleus will join to form the habenular commissure, and in between them the pineal gland is located. And after that we have the superior colliculus, inferior colliculus, and whole the brainstem thing. Okay, now we'll talk about we have the various lesions in variant part of this. Suppose there is a lesion in this side, so now our vision will be like this. This side will be complete block, only this side will be visible. Okay, suppose we have a pattern that we have seeing only this part. This is called hemianopia. This is anopia, complete vision loss, and this is the hemianopia. And suppose we have a lesion at this side, so this is the temporal field of vision, this is the nasal field of vision. So lesion at this side, the both side temporal field of vision will be affected like this. So this is called bitemporal hemianopia. Bitemporal hemianopia, lesion in the optic chiasma. So it is also called heteronymous hemianopia. So this is heteronymous hemianopia. So then what is homonymous hemianopia? Suppose there is a condition like this. This is called homonymous hemianopia. So this is bitemporal hemianopia or homonymous heteronymous hemianopia. This is the homonymous hemianopia. Suppose we have a lesion here in the optic tract. So what will happen? So this side, this will be compromised, and from this side, this view will be compromised. Here is a case of homonymous hemianopia. It is homonymous hemianopia. So like this, now we'll talk about the light reflex. So suppose this is our two eyes like this. Here I put light here. This will also constrict. So how this will constrict? So the fibers first will carried by the right reflex will carried by the optic nerve, and from the optic nerve there will is the lateral genicular body, and from the lateral genicular body, not the lateral genicular body, from first will shining the light on the eye, and by optic nerve, and then optic chiasma, then optic tract. From the optic tract divides into two parts. One is medial and lateral. The lateral part will goes to the lateral genicular body, and the medial part it goes to two things. One, either it goes to the superior colliculus or it goes to the pretectal nucleus. So this is the optic tract. medial and lateral part. Lateral part is thick, medial part is of course thin. It also goes to it. Lateral part goes to lateral geniculate body. Medial part goes into either it goes to the periaquetal nucleus or it goes to the superior colliculus. So from optic tract, this part will few fibers will go to periaquetal nucleus of both side and goes to the pretectal nucleus of both side. From pretectal nucleus we have the here the cranial nerve 3, that is the Edinger Westphal nucleus. The pretectal nucleus, now this fiber from pretectal nucleus will stimulate the fiber of Edinger Westphal nucleus. It is located in the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus, we know that. So from Edinger Westphal nucleus we have the now the oculomotor nerve, that is the cranial nerve C3. So this will go here like this, and the oculomotor nerve branch to the inferior oblique, and it will go on both side. Okay, so as this is supplying the both side of pretectal nucleus, both side of pretectal nucleus will stimulate. So both side of Edinger Westphal nucleus will be stimulated. From that it will go to the both side of inferior oblique muscle, and from that a nerve is this branch related to ciliary ganglion. So this is a ciliary ganglion to which the branch to inferior oblique relates, and from ciliary ganglion via the short ciliary nerve, the short ciliary nerve of both side now will supply the muscle, that is sphincter pupillae, and as the sphincter pupillae muscle is supplied, and then it will both will constrict the eyeball. When light fall on one side, other side also be constricted. We have another thing, that is the when we look from another here one side, and here also like this happens. So it is related to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. So this is all about these concepts. They are very crisp and very clear. So thank you.